Hello, it's just me. I was supposed to have a learning self-defense class today. No one came, so I just finished my workout, which was really fun. You should all come down and try it. I'll show you some stuff. But I decided that I'm going to talk a little bit, because why not? I'm too tired to do a video that has anything constructive in it. So I talked about tournaments, and I said why I haven't done tournaments, why I'm going to be doing tournaments. Something I would love to see is an interdisciplinary weapons tournament. And I have studied mostly Italian Renaissance rapier. I have a brother who has studied Japanese swordsmanship. I have known people who have done other European styles of swordsmanship. And of course I've known people that have done Chinese swords. The Chinese swords that I did, I only got that much involved in, enough to know how the weapons worked, and then adapt what I know from Italian rapier to make it work. Yeah, I really wish that there was such a thing, and I've been thinking about it, and I think we'd have to have several divisions if we were going to do something like that. You'd have to have, like, knife level, something really short. Then you'd have to have a sword level, something that you held and did with a sword. And then after that, something two-handed, either two swords or a staff length. One of the things that occurred to me is weapons is a little different than, for example, hand sparring, because you can kind of know if you're going to get hit in the cheek, it's going to feel about like that, and it's going to be harder or not quite so hard, but really a fist is a fist. And with weapons, something like a sword, a thrust isn't always necessarily a thrust. If you have a straight sword and you thrust and you hit them dead on and you go into their body, that's going to do quite a bit of internal damage. You're going to cut something on your way through. There's, historical accounts of people having a sword run all the way through their body and they go on to win the fight. Later on the sword's taken out and the wound's cauterized, but they're lucky. They're not the normal. The normal is the sword comes out and you are done. You will lie on the battlefield or the dueling field or whatever and bleed out and die. Best case scenario. And the same thing with a slash. If you come in with a good strong slash, to the upper shoulder or across here so that it hits here and you cut in, it's not going to go as deep as a thrust. If you've got like a good saber, if you do a good slash, it's not going to go in as deep as a thrust, but it's going to make a bigger wound. And so, again, there are cases in history of people, getting a huge gash in their side and they've got, part of their liver showing and they go on to win, but they're lucky. They're lucky that nothing important got dinged, that somehow they missed the most important arteries, that they were able to hold things together. Most of the time you get a big slash like that and you're done. The fight is over for you. Everything is over for you. But then there's a draw cut or a draw thrust where, it'll come, if you do a thrust, it'll come past your body or past your arm or whatever. And these are going to hurt. They're going to hurt like dickens. but they're not going to be fight-ending, death-dealing blows. You know, you go thrust, you come across somebody's arm, it's going to hurt, it's going to slow them down a little bit, but you're going to keep going. And the same thing with a cut. You know, if you come with a cut and it comes across the front of your body, it's going to hurt, it's going to make you back up, it's going to make you think twice. But, you know, a little bit of alcohol on it, a little bit of rubbing alcohol on it, and you'll go home and sleep it off. Maybe not sleep it off, but, you know, it won't be the end of your life. Probably go to work the next day. So, you'd have to have some way to gauge a person's skill. And then also, you know, if you come for a draw cut and you turn the blade, then it's going to go across more flat. And you may still get some cut, it's not going to be as deep. So you'd have to have some way to gauge a person's actual skill with the blade and with the particular blade they are pretending to use. And so you give them some kind of a target, and you can say, you know, do a thrust. And the closer you get to the center of something, and the deeper you can go in, the more points your thrusts are worth. And then, again, with a cut. And I think you'd want to do 5 tests. I think you'd want to do 5 tests at the beginning of each round to determine what their skill level was going to be. And you could do the same 5 tests with blunt weapons, like staves, because, again, you're going to do different kinds of damage based on how it impacts. You know, and the first is just, you know, a straight thrust. You know, take your sword, you know, even if it's a traditionally non-thrusting weapon, you may end up in a situation where you thrust with it anyways. We want to know what kind of damage that would do. You just take it, you thrust at your target, and calculate, you know, how deep, how close to the center, you know. I've got a couple ideas on how you could set that up. And the next test would just be the same thing, just straight on slash. Ding! And again, even if it's traditionally a non-slashing weapon, you know, even if you've got, you know, a really thin rapier that normally does not get used for slashing, you may find yourself in a situation where you're up and you just slash because it's the best move available. Whatever. You know, we've got to know what that's going to mean. And so you do a slash with your weapon. And then the next test that you're going to want to do is if you block up and come in, and you're going to have some kind of apparatus that you block with and go in. And how does your accuracy change when you've got something against you? And then again, for a cross the body block and coming in. For your thrusts. And again, the same thing for your slashes. Block up, then slash. Block across, then slash. And how does your damage stack up? And then the final test would just be a straight overhead come down on it. You know, because sometimes, in some arts particularly, that's something you do. You come in and ding. And how much damage do you do with that? And then you take that and you get into your ring, and when you get in your ring, you trade out metal swords for foam or blunted weapons or something, whatever floats your boat. And you get out there, and you do your weapons, or you do your sparring, and if you walk across and come in, you go back to how much damage you caused, and that's how many points you scored. You know, if you walk up and come in, if you walk across and slash, you've got, you know, kind of a baseline to look at. And, you know, on every case, you know, if they go to stab and totally miss, and then you come back, you know how much you can do. And then you do the same 5 tests with your blunt weapons, you know, your staves. If you do go to the long and you decide you want a staff, you know, how deep are you hitting this thing? You know, how much damage can you do to somebody? And by all accounts, and I've been hitting the head of a stick a couple times, you know, it hurts. You know, it's not like a sword where it cuts in, but you can really mess someone up with a good solid whack. And again, you know, go in, have your tests, see how much damage you do to some kind of a target with your various attacks, and then you go in. If you've got two swords, on the block attacks, you block with one and attack with the other. You know, if you've got two swords, or a sword and a dagger, you know, you do your typical block attack. Instead, you do block attack, and you use that as your baseline. You know, if you've got something that is typically a shield, same thing, because those can be used to hit too. You know, and so in the two-handed, you can even use, you know, like a buckler or a larger round shield, depending on what you're more comfortable with, what you practice with, what your style is. And that's something I would really love to see, is an interdisciplinary weapons tournament. If anybody watching this says, hey, that sounds like a cool idea, message me, or go to my website and you can send me a Facebook message and, you know, tell me, hey, this sounds cool, but hey, this would be better, or leave something in the comments saying, hey, this would be cool, but hey, what about this idea? And you know, see if we can pull together some ideas, because, you know, right now you get all these different people who say, oh, katanas are the killer, and, you know, rapier is awesome, and, you know, oh, I went against a guy that does kenjutsu one time, and I totally wiped the floor with him. Oh, he must not have been that good. Whatever. You know, UFC has been great for showing that, you know, it's not actually the art, it's the fighter. And it'd be interesting to have some kind of tournament that would tell us whether it is actually the art or the fighter when it comes to weapons, and whether it's the weapon or the fighter, or some combination thereof. Anyway, if you're watching this, you think that's a cool idea, I'd love to hear more ideas, and see what else is going on in the world.